evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's presentation will be focusing on education resource management. My name is Rebecca Mungake and I'll be the one presenting for the entire session. So the focus will be on ICT management in education. So ICT management in education is one of the education resource management component that I'll be focusing on specifically. So it would be appropriate for us to first understand what are ICTs. So ICT stands for Information and Communication Technologies. Therefore, when we define ICT, we can define it as technological tools and resources that could be used for communication, creation, storage, as well as the management of information. Therefore, we need to contextualize ICTs in terms of education resources. So, what are ICTs in terms of education and how do we use ICTs in education? So, focusing on ICT management in education, the presentation will be narrowed down to two main points. So, it would focus on educational management and administrative aspects. Secondly, it would also focus on teaching and learning. So, when we look at educational management and administrative aspects, we could safely say that we realize that over the years, ICT innovations have changed how things are being done. We have moved from paperwork to paperless. So, the Department of Basic Education, which is the DBE, recognizes how efficient and how effective ICTs can be towards educational and administrative aspects, as it allows us to do the following, or rather it enables us to do the following. Firstly, it allows schools administrative systems to have access to information that is time relevant, information that is detailed as well. So when we look at the information that we get from ICT, it allows us to have an overview of the various functions of the school. For example, SASEMS. So when we look at SASEMS, we realize that SASEMS is a tool, or rather an administrative management system that can be used for quite a number of things. It can be used for recording learner information, parent information, teacher information. It can also be used for recording the classroom allocations, as well as learners being allocated into those classrooms. It can also be used on the side of recording. So, for example, teachers and administrative staff can use ICTs to generate mark sheets as well as report cards. So, talking about report cards, at the end of the presentation, I'll be showing you a picture of a progress report that I once created using SASEMS. So, secondly, we realize that ICT also enables schools to make informed decisions. Therefore, we all know that in order for an organization such as a school to make decisions that are informed and to make decisions that will benefit the school, they need to have information. And therefore, the information should be time relevant, it should also be accurate. Therefore, ICT, which is information and communication technology, allows us to make such informed decisions, as it provides us with vast amounts of information that we can use, as well as it allows us to communicate. Therefore, communication can happen in many forms using ICT. We can communicate via social networks, we can communicate using other formal means such as email, which is the electronic mail. So, the last point for this slide is that it focuses on school management information system. So, ICT allows schools to plan, monitor, improve, and be accountable for their actions or for the things that they do within the school environment. Remember that the focus is on management and administration in this section of the presentation. So when we look at managing schools, an example that I could give would be the finance management of the school. Therefore, schools can use various ICT tools to plan, monitor, improve, and be accountable for their finances. Tools such as the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet could be used to capture and calculate the finances for the school for a month or even for the whole financial year. Moving on to the last point, we'll be focusing on teaching and learning. So, when we look at teaching and learning, we realize that every school has a single goal, that is to teach and to ensure that learners learn in an effective way and in an efficient way as well. So, the first point here states that teachers and learners can have access to online resources. So, they can use internet, they can use the World Wide Web, they can use a whole lot of ICT resources instead of relying on limited hard copy books or hard copy encyclopedias. So they can have access to that information online, and anyone can have access to that information, so it is not limited. Therefore, that is one of the benefits of ICT management as an educational resource tool or as an educational resource. So the second and last point is ICT and how it can be valuable, how it can be a valuable resource during the times of disaster. So we all know that currently we are facing a global pandemic that doesn't allow us to necessarily have physical contact in most cases. So, with ICTs, remote learning can happen where teachers and learners can use different or various ICT tools to interact with one another. Therefore, with all the points mentioned, we can safely say that ICT management in education is one of the valuable education resource tool that can be used in our education system. So this slide here is just to show you an overview of the sources that were consulted to create this presentation. Then lastly, it's just a picture of a progress report card that I've once created using SASEMS. Thank you so much.